and they are always busy with the desire to do this or that. This is due to uncontrollable greed. The greed for material always existing in the living entity. But your lordship is always alert, and in due course of time you strike him, just as a snake seizes a mouse and very easily swallows him. Whoa, very, very amazing statement. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Everyone is greedy, and everyone makes plans for material enjoyment. In his lust for material enjoyment, the living entity is described as a madman, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 3.27. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasaha ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself to be the doer of activities which are in actuality carried out by nature. Everything is enacted by the laws of nature, and these laws are under the direction of the Supreme Personality of God. The atheists or unintelligent men do not know this. They are busy making their own plans, and big nations are busy expanding their empires. And yet, we know that in due course of time, many empires have come into existence and been destroyed. Many aristocratic families were created by people in their extreme madness, but we can see that in the course of time, these families and empires have all been destroyed. But still, the foolish atheists do not accept the supreme authority of the Lord. Such foolish people unnecessarily concoct their own duties without referring to the supreme authority of the Lord. The so-called political leaders are busy making plans to advance the material prosperity of their nation. But factually, these political leaders only want an exalted position for themselves. Due to their greed for material position, they falsely present themselves as leaders before the people and collect their votes, although they are completely under the grip of the laws of material nature. These are some of the faults of the of modern civilization. Without taking to God consciousness and accepting the authority of the Lord, the living entities become ultimately confused and frustrated in their plan-making attempts. Due to their unauthorized plans for economic development, the price of commodities is rising daily all over the world, so much so that is so much so that it has so much so that uh, so much so that is has become difficult for the poorer classes, and they are suffering the consequences. And due to lack of Krishna consciousness, the people are being fooled by the so-called leaders and plan makers. Consequently, the suffering of people are increasing. Sufferings of people are increasing. According to the law of nature, uh, which are backed by the Lord, nothing can be permanent within this material world. Therefore, everyone should be allowed to take shelter of the absolute in order to be saved. And when it says the absolute, it's talking about Krishna. In this regard, Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 5.29, Bhoktaram yagitapasam sarvaloktam maheshwaram Sirhidam Sarvabhutanam Yadvamam Santimrichati. The sages, knowing me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. If one wants peace of mind and tranquility in society, he must accept the fact that the real enjoyer is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is the proprietor of everything all over the universe, and he is the supreme friend of all living entities as well. By understanding this, people can become happy and peaceful individually and collectively. So there are two major points here. That the Lord is the proprietor of everything all over the universe, and he is the supreme friend of all living entities as well. By understanding this, people can become happy and peaceful individually and collectively. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds pretty simple, but it gets very complicated because of lust, anger, and greed. Text 67. My dear Lord, any learned person who knows that unless he worships you, his entire life is spoiled. Knowing this, how could he give up worshiping your lotus feet? Even our father and spiritual master, Lord Brahma, unhesitatingly worshipped you, and the 14 Manus followed in his footsteps. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The word Pandita means a wise man. Who is actually a wise man? It's the question. Who is actually a wise man? The wise man is described in Bhagavad Gita 7.19 in this way. Bahunam janmanamante yanavam mam prapadyante vasudeva savamiti sa mahatma sudurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Thus, when the wise man actually becomes wise after many births and deaths, after many births and whimsical attempts at self-realization, he surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Such a Mahatma or learned person knows that Krishna, Vasudeva, is everything. Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. Learned persons always think that life is wasted unless they worship Lord Krishna or become his devotee. Srila Rupa Goswami also says that when one becomes an advanced devotee, he understands that he should be reserved and perseverant, shanti, and that he should engage in the service of the Lord and not waste time, avyartha kalatvam. He should also be detached from all material attraction, virakti, and he should not long for any material respect in return for his activities. Manasunyata. He should be certain that Krishna will bestow his mercy upon him. Asa bandha. And he should always be very eager to serve the Lord faithfully. Sanmukhanta. The wise man is always very eager to glorify the Lord by chanting and hearing Namagani Sadaruchi. And he is always eager to describe the transcendental qualities of the Lord. Ashaktis. Tad Gunakayane. He should also be attracted to those places where the Lord had his pastimes. Pratishtad Vasati Stale. These are symptoms of an advanced devotee. Wow. An advanced devotee or perfect human being who is actually wise and learned cannot give up his service at the lotus feet of the Lord. Although Lord Brahma had a long lifespan, um, 4.320 trillion years,
Yeah.
constitute 12 hours in a day of Brahma. Brahma is afraid of death and consequently engages in devotional service of the Lord. Similarly, all the manas who appear and disappear during the day of Brahma are also engaged in the Lord's devotional service. In Brahma's one day, 14 manus appear and disappear. The first manu is Swayambhuva Manu. Each manu lives for 71 yugas, each consisting of some 4,320,000 years. Although the manus have such a long lifespan, they still prepare for the next life by engaging in the devotional service of the Lord. In this age, human beings only live for 60 or 80 years. And even this small lifespan is gradually decreasing. Therefore, it is even more imperative for human beings to take to the worship of the lotus feet of the Lord by constantly chanting the Hare Krishna mantra as recommended by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Trinadapi Sunichena Tararapi Sahishnana Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sada Hari. Shiksastakam number 3. When one is engaged in devotional service, he is often surrounded by envious people. And often many enemies come to try to defeat him or stop him. This is not new in this present age, for even in the days of yore, Prahlad Maharaj, yore means in the past, Prahlad Maharaj, who was engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, was harassed by his demoniac father, Hiranyakashipu. The atheists are always prepared to harass a devotee. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu suggested that one be very tolerant of these people. Nonetheless, one has to continue chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and preaching the chanting of this mantra because such preaching and chanting constitute the perfection of life. One should chant and preach about the urgency of making this life perfect in all respects. One should thus engage in the devotional service of the Lord and follow in the footsteps of previous acharyas, beginning with Lord Brahma and others. Well, there it is. This is very good, uh, uh, very good wisdom on how to have a spiritual life. One should chant and preach about the urgency of making this life perfect in all respects. One should thus engage in the devotional service of the Lord and follow in the footsteps of previous acharyas, beginning with Lord Brahma and others. Text 68. My dear Lord, all actually learned persons know you as the Supreme Brahman and the Supersoul. Although the entire universe is afraid of Lord Rudra, who ultimately annihilates everything, for the learned devotees, you are the fearless destination of all. So one should aim to become a learned devotee. Then you will not have unnecessary fear and and act in very strange ways due to that fear. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. For the purpose of creation, maintenance, and annihilation of this cosmic manifestation, there are three lords, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, or Maheshwara. The material body is finished at the time of annihilation. Both the universal body and the small unit, the individual living entity's body, are susceptible to annihilation at the ultimate end. However, the devotees do not fear the annihilation of the body, for they are confident that after the annihilation, they will go back home, back to Godhead. Kyapvadeham punarjanma naiti mam iti so Arjuna. If one strictly follows the process of devotional service, he has no fear of death, for he is predestined to go back home, back to Godhead. The non-devotees are fearful of death because they have no guarantee of where they are going or of the type of body they are going to get in their next life. The word Rudravaya is significant in this verse because Rudra himself, Lord Shiva, is speaking of fear of Rudra. This indicates that there are many Rudras. This indicates that there are many Rudras, 11 Rudras, and the Rudra, Lord Shiva, who is offering this prayer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is different from the other Rudras. Although he is as powerful as they are, the conclusion is that one Rudra is afraid of another Rudra because each and every one of them is engaged in the destruction of this cosmic manifestation. But for the devotee, everyone is afraid of Rudra, even Rudra himself. A devotee is never afraid of Rudra because he is always secure, being protected by the lotus feet of the Lord. As Sri Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 9.31, Konteya pratijanihi, name bhakta panasyati. My dear Arjuna, you may declare publicly that my pure devotee will not be vanquished under any circumstances. There it is. Konteya pratijanihi name bhakta panasyati. Krishna is guaranteeing that his devotee will always be protected under any circumstances. Text 69. My dear sons of the king, just execute your occupational duty as kings with a pure heart. Just chant this prayer, fixing your mind on the lotus feet of the Lord. This will bring you all good fortune, for the Lord will be very much pleased with you. The prayers offered by Lord Shiva are very authoritative and significant. Simply by offering prayers to the Supreme Lord, one can become perfect, even though engaged in his occupational duty. The real purpose of life is to become a devotee of the Lord. It does not matter where one is situated, whether one is a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, American, Englishman, Indian, etc. One can execute devotional service anywhere and everywhere in the material existence simply by offering prayers unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is also a prayer, for a prayer addresses the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his name and invokes good fortune by petitioning the Lord to allow one to engage in his devotional service. The Hare Krishna Maha Mantra also says, my dear Lord Krishna, my dear Lord Rama, O energy of the Lord, Hare, meaning Radharani, kindly engage me in your service. Although one may be situated in a lowly position, he can execute devotional service under any circumstances, as stated, Ahaitaki Pratihata. Devotional service cannot be checked by any material condition. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.6. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also recommended this process. Gani prayasam upapasya namanta eva shivanti sanmukharitam bhavadya vartam stane stita sutigatam tanuvan manobi ye prayaso jito pi asitais trilokyam. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.3. One may remain situated in his own place or his own occupational duty and still lend his ear to receive the message of the Lord from realized souls. The Krishna consciousness movement is based on this principle, and we are opening centers all over the world to give everyone a chance to hear the message of Lord Krishna in order to go back home, back to Godhead. Well, that's by Prabhupada's mercy. Text 70. Therefore, O sons of the King, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, is situated in everyone's heart. He is also within your hearts. Therefore, chant the glories of the Lord and always meditate upon him continuously. Well, all you have to do is chant Hare Krishna. That's chanting the glories of the Lord and meditating upon him continuously. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The word asakrit is significant, for it means not just for a few minutes, but continuously. That is the instruction given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Siksastaka, Kirtaniya Sada Hari. The holy name of the Lord should be chanted 24 hours daily. Therefore, in this Krishna consciousness movement, we request the devotees to chant at least 16 rounds on their beads daily. Actually, one has to chant 24 hours daily, just like Thakur Haridas, who was chanting the Hare Krishna mantra 300,000 times daily. Indeed, he had no other business. Some of the Goswamis, like Raghunath Das Goswami, were also chanting very rigidly and also offering obeisances very rigidly. As stated in Srinivas Acharya's prayer to the six Goswamis, Sad Goswami Astaka, Sankhya Purvaka Nama Gana, Natibi Kalavasani Krito. The word Sankhya Purvaka means maintaining a numerical strength. Not only was Raghunath Das Goswami chanting the holy name of the Lord, but he was also offering obeisances in the same prolific numbers. Prolific numbers means very, very many times. Because the princes were ready to enter into some severe austerity in order to worship the Lord, Lord Shiva advised them to constantly chant of and meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is significant that Lord Shiva personally offered his prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, just as he was taught by his father, Lord Brahma. Similarly, he was also preaching to the princes according to the Parampara system. One not only should practice the instructions received from the spiritual master, but should also distribute this knowledge to one's disciples. The words Atmanam Atmastam Sarva Bhutesh vastitam are also significant. The personality of Godhead is the origin of all living entities. Because the living entities are parts and parcels of the Lord, He is the Father of all of them. One can search out the Supreme Lord very easily within one's heart, where He is situated in every living entity's heart. In this verse, the process of worshiping the Lord is considered to be very easy and complete, for anyone can sit down anywhere and in any condition of life and simply chant the holy names of the Lord. By chanting and hearing, one automatically engages in meditation. Okay, so that closes forever the question of silent chanting. One should not silently chant because one must chant and hear. Then one can automatically engage in meditation. So all the Hare Krishna devotees who chant silently should stop immediately and always chant out loud, at least loud enough to hear themselves chanting, and somebody near them can also hear their chanting. By chanting and hearing, one automatically engages in meditation. So that means you chant out loud and you hear your chanting. You cannot chant silently and hear your chanting. It doesn't work. You have to chant out loud and hear your chanting. Therefore, it says, by chanting and hearing, one automatically engages in meditation. Only the Mayavadis, who are mostly nonsense, chant silently. There's no question of chanting silently because you cannot hear your chanting then. And nobody else can hear you chanting. So if you're actually a devotee, you would chant loud enough that you can hear and people near you can also hear the chanting. Okay. So whenever you see a devotee who is silently chanting, you should know that he never reads the Shastra or hears the Shastra spoken by genuine devotees. Therefore, out of speculation, he chants silently. That's not recommended at all. Okay. Also, here, the important takeaway is the word Sankhya Purvaka means maintaining a numerical strength. Not only was Raghunath Das Goswami chanting the holy name of the Lord, but he was also offering obeisances in the same prolific numbers. In other words, he was always chanting and also offering obeisances. Now, we can't maybe imitate Raghunath Das Goswami, but we can follow his example. Okay, are there any questions? There's a lot of wonderful statements here. Especially the statement from the Sixastika, Kirtaniya Sadahari. The holy name of the Lord should be chanted 24 hours daily. Therefore, in this Krishna consciousness movement, we request the devotees to chant at least 16 rounds on their beads daily. Actually want us to chant 24 hours daily, just like Thakur Haridas, who was chanting the Hare Krishna mantra 300,000 times daily. Indeed, he had no other business. Some of the Goswamis, like Raghunath Das Goswami, were also chanting very rigidly and also offering obeisances very rigidly. As stated in Srinivas Acharya's prayer to the six Goswamis, the Sad Goswami Astaka, Sankhya Purvaka Nama Gana Nativi Kalavasani Krito. The word Sankhya Purvaka means maintaining a numerical strength. Not only was Raghunath Das Goswami chanting the holy name of the Lord, but he was also offering obeisances in the same prolific numbers. Wow. So he was going up and down, offering at least, offering, let's say, his thunderbolts to any devotee that he met. Are there any questions? There's so many nice statements in this purport. Any questions?
Anyone with questions or comments?
I have a comment. It says, one can search out the Supreme Lord very easily within one's heart, for he is situated in every living entity's heart. In this verse, the process of worshiping the Lord is considered to be very easy and complete, for anyone can sit down anywhere and in any condition of life and simply chant the holy names of the Lord. By chanting and hearing, one automatically engages in meditation. So, my dear devotees, any of you who chant silently, you should stop immediately, because by chanting and hearing, one automatically engages in meditation. That means we should chant out loud so that you can chant and hear yourself, and other people also can chant and hear, or at least they can hear one, and thus one automatically engages in meditation. So there's no such thing as silent meditation. It's not really meditative. It's not really considered chanting properly. Simple and simply chant the holy names of the Lord. By chanting and hearing, one automatically engages in meditation. So real meditation is chanting and hearing, whether you're alone or if you're in the association of other devotees. There should be chanting and hearing, not silent so-called chanting. Okay, so that finishes it. There's no more question, no more silent chanting. That's not recommended at all. One must simply chant the holy names of the Lord by chanting and hearing. If you chant silently, you cannot hear. By chanting and hearing, one automatically engages in meditation. So if you are silently chanting, give it up immediately and take up chanting and hearing. Then one automatically engages in meditation. Okay, are there any questions anyone would like to ask? Questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Maharaj, like if we chant at home and some other devotee is serving like in the kitchen by chopping vegetables, and we are not able to go and do the same thing there. So is the service equal, like chanting at home, will it be equal to chopping? I mean, I just wanted to know that.
Well, there's nothing wrong with chanting the mantra at home. And there's nothing wrong with chopping vegetables and chanting. So, what is your question exactly?
Maharaj, if you're not able to go and chop vegetables, but try to chant at home. Will that be will that be equal to like uh, chopping vegetables, or is chopping vegetables at the temple? I mean, is a service better? Like that. I'm asking.
Well, there's a time for everything. There's a time for chanting your rounds without any interruption or any type of distraction. When you chant, you should not be distracted. Now, you might say, yeah, but is it wrong that when I chant, I can also chop vegetables? You can do that, but you're not going to be able to really concentrate on your chanting by doing two things at one time. There has to be a time when you can chant 16 rounds completely meditating on chanting and hearing the mantra Hare Krishna. There are other times after you have finished your rounds that you can continue chanting and also chop vegetables, for example, but not chanting and watching television or chanting and talking on the phone or something like that. When we chant, nothing else should be hindering us from chanting and hearing very seriously. We should be completely focused on chanting and hearing the mantra spoken by ourselves. So we have to chant out loud so that we can hear the chanting. The silent chanting is not recommended anywhere. At least I don't think it's recommended anywhere. Chanting means you chant out loud so that at least you can hear and someone near you can also hear. But you should not, like, let's say you're chopping vegetables and chanting. Okay, fine, you can do that, but that's not counted as chanting on your beads and focusedly concentrating on the chanting. We should chant 24 hours a day, yes, but it should be with full, uh, let's say, full attention to purely chanting the holy names without anything else, let's say, interrupting you. Okay, so can you chant Hare Krishna while you're chopping vegetables? Yes, you can, but it's not counted as chanting your rounds. When you chant your rounds, you have to be completely focused on hearing and chanting the holy names. Nothing else should be interrupting your chanting, or nothing else should be in your mind other than the chanting purely of the holy name. Now, let's say you've chanted your rounds and now you're working in the kitchen, but you're also chanting. Okay, that's fine, but you cannot count that chanting as part of your daily chanting of your rounds. When you chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, you have to be completely focused on chanting and not doing anything else. You can also continue chanting even after you finished your rounds and chanting while you're cooking or doing other things. That's okay. but you can't count that as chanting your rounds. When you chant your rounds, it has to be done without any other thing happening in your mind. You should be fully focused on the chanting and hearing of the mantra and not doing anything else. So at least 2 hours a day, you should have such, let's say, meditative chanting where you're not doing anything else but focusing on hearing and chanting the holy name. On other times of the day, you may be chanting while cutting vegetables. You may be chanting by, uh, doing seva. But at least 2 hours a day, you should chant and completely meditate on the chanting and not do anything else. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Dandavat Pranam.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Sir.
Any other questions or comments? Any other questions or comments? Okay, there's a very nice statement here. It says, one can search out the Supreme Lord very easily within one's heart, for he is situated in every living entity's heart. In this verse, the process of worshiping the Lord is considered to be very easy and complete, for anyone can sit down anywhere and in any condition of life simply chant the holy names of the Lord. By chanting and hearing, one automatically engages in meditation. Okay, so this is the absolute final time we're going to say this. Chanting and hearing means real meditation. So there's no such thing as silent chanting. You must be able to chant and hear. Then one automatically engages in meditation. Silent chanting is not at all recommended. When you chant, you must also hear the mantra. By chanting and hearing, one automatically engages in meditation. So if we're meditating silently, it is not really meditation. It's when you chant and hear, then there is meditation. Okay, any other questions or comments? Text number 71. My dear princes, in the form of a prayer, I have delineated the yoga system of chanting the holy name. All of you should take this important sutra within your mind and promise to keep it in order to become great sages. By acting silently like a great sage and by giving attention and reverence, you should practice this method. Okay, well, let's hear what the purport says. In the Hatha Yoga system, one has to practice bodily exercises, dhyana, dharana, asana, meditation, etc. One also has to sit in one place in a particular posture and concentrate his gaze on the tip of the nose. There are so many rules and regulations for the Hatha Yoga system that it is practically impossible to perform in this age. The alternative system of Bhakti Yoga is very easy, not only in this age, but in others as well. For this yoga system was advocated long ago by Lord Shiva when he advised the princes, the sons of Maharaj Parsinabhar Hisat. But Bhakti Yoga system is not newly introduced. For even 5,000 years ago, Lord Krishna recommended this Bhakti Yoga as the topmost yoga. As Krishna tells Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita 6.47, Yoginam api sarvesam mad gatanantaratmana Shraddhavam bhajate yomam same yuktitamo bata. Of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshiping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. The topmost yogi is he who constantly thinks of Krishna within himself and chants the glories of the Lord. In other words, this system of Bhakti Yoga has been existing from time immemorial and is now continuing in this Krishna consciousness movement. So, not only one should constantly think of Krishna within himself, but also chant the glories of the Lord. So when you chant, you also hear. That is the correct way of meditating. It doesn't mean that one should chant, without hearing. One should chant and hear the holy mantra. Therefore, it says, of all the yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshiping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. The topmost yogi is he who constantly thinks of Krishna within himself and chants the glories of the Lord. In other words, the system of Bhakti Yoga has been existing from time immemorial and is now continuing in this Krishna consciousness movement. So one should constantly think of Krishna within himself and chant the glories of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There's no such thing as silent chanting. Of course, you can try and do that, but it's not really recommended. Here it says that the topmost yogi is he who constantly thinks of Krishna within himself and chants the glories of the Lord. Okay. I don't think we have to emphasize that anymore. Yoginam api sarvesam mad gatanantaratmana Shraddhavam bhajate yomam same yuktitamo bata. Of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshiping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. The topmost yogi is he who constantly thinks of Krishna within himself and chants the glories of the Lord. In other words, the system of Bhakti Yoga has been existing from time immemorial and is now continuing in this Krishna consciousness movement. So we should constantly think of Krishna within ourselves and chant the glories of the Lord. Okay. Chanting means chanting out loud. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare. The word Muni Vrata, you have a question? You have a question? No. Okay. The word Muni Vrata is significant in this regard because those who are interested in advancing in spiritual life must be silent. Silence means talking only of Krishna Katha. This is the silence of Maharaj Ambarisha. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we know what real silence is. It doesn't mean not talking. It means only talking about Krishna. That's real silence. Okay? Savai mana Krishna padara vindayor, vacham sivai kuntu gunanuvarnane. King Ambarisha always fixed his mind on the lotus feet of the Lord and talked of him only. Srimad Bhagavatam 9.4.19. We should also take this opportunity in life to become as good as a great saint, simply by not talking unnecessarily with unwanted people. We should either talk of Krishna or chant Hare Krishna undeviatingly. This is called Munivrata. The intelligence must be very sharp, samahita diya, and should always be acting in Krishna consciousness. The words etad abhyasata drita indicate that if one takes these instructions from a spiritual master with great reverence, adrita, and practices them accordingly, he will find this bhakti yoga process to be very, very easy. If you do it the right way, it's very, very easy. If you do it the wrong way, it's very, very difficult. So here, again, it says, we should either talk of Krishna or chant Hare Krishna undeviatingly. So there's no question of being silent. There's no question of silent chanting. We should either talk of Krishna or chant Hare Krishna undeviatingly. This is called Munivrata. The intelligence must be very sharp, samahitadiya, and should always be acting in Krishna consciousness. The words etad abhyasata drita indicate that if one takes these instructions from a spiritual master with great reverence, adrita, and practices them accordingly, he will find this bhakti yoga process to be very, very easy. So we should either talk of Krishna or chant Hare Krishna undeviatingly. This is called Munivrata. Okay, so you can either talk of Krishna or you can chant Hare Krishna. It doesn't say to stay quiet or to chant silently. You should either talk of Krishna, that's not silent, or chant Hare Krishna, that's not silence. Okay, thank you very much, my dear devotees. Now, all of you who have been doing silent chanting, stop immediately. Because you can either talk of Krishna, right, or chant Hare Krishna, not be silent. All right, thank you very much, my dear devotees. Any questions, comments? So I like this. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to ask.
I like this statement. It says, the words itad abhya satadrita indicate that if one takes these instructions from a spiritual master with great reverence, adrita, and practices them accordingly, he will find this bhakti yoga process to be very, very easy. Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. It's very, very easy.
With great reverence.
Yes.
And practice them.
That's why it says we should either talk of Krishna or chant Hare Krishna undeviatingly. That means continually. This is called Muni Vrata. The intelligence must be very sharp, samahita diya, and should always be acting in Krishna consciousness. So we should either talk of Krishna or chant Hare Krishna undeviatingly. There's no question of silent chanting. All right, thank you very much, my dear devotees. Now we know for sure what to do and what not to do. We should chant out loud the holy names of the Lord. We should either talk of Krishna or chant Hare Krishna undeviatingly. There it is. Canto 4, chapter 24, verse number 71, near the end of the purport. We should either talk of Krishna or chant Hare Krishna undeviatingly. This is called Muni Vrata. Hari. Okay, my dear devotees, if there are no questions, we will adjourn this sector and pick up again. What is it? 11 hours from now.
Yes.
Thank you very, very much. Chant Hare Krishna out loud and be happy. You should be able to hear yourself chanting. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
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 Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Rama, Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai. So we should either talk of Krishna or chant Hare Krishna undeviatingly. That means we should do it 24 hours a
Hare
day.
Krishna, Hare.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Jai. Thank you, Mataji, and all the devotees. All glories to Prabhupada.